So I'm Jack.
I'm Jason.
Okay.
I'm James Howe's son, and I was just saying to Jack that I've got a handful of people it would interest me to talk about back to those old days, and you are definitely one of them.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you guys. I mean, I was really blown away. I mean, how long is it? Over 50 years. It's incredible. Yeah, I remember. I remember meeting your dad. And that picture taken outside of Ronnie Scott's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
a copy of it here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, we were very excited. Now, I'm trying to think. Was that 1972?
No idea. It's got to be around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was about that time because I think we got the deal with Rotosound, the endorsement with Rotosound, right before we did a UK tour with Humble Pie.
Okay.
That year.
So that was Hookfoot before Elton John.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, we had our own records out and stuff, and we were starting to do things over there. And so we were on a tour with Humble Pie, which was an absolute riot. It was great. And so that was, that's about when we got the endorsement with Rotosound strings. Yeah.
So my first foray into Hookfoot was when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. And my dad had this album in his cupboard in the garage. And, my dad wasn't a rock and roll guy. He played the violin and the figure. But had started this wonderful company. And I remember seeing this album, and I just remember seeing these dark figures, this gold and black album cover.
Yeah.
I was intrigued by it. And when I was like 13 or 14, I started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, whether it was Rotosound or not, I absolutely loved the songs. And I was just saying to Jack that Coombe Gallows was just like, what a fantastic song. I think in B minor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I learned to play guitar to some of those songs.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I absolutely loved it. And then, probably 10 or 15 years ago, I joined the dots together and realised you were Elton John's backing band.
Yeah.
After Hookfoot or during Hookfoot or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when Jack said he hooked up with you, no pun intended.
There it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like so excited, and I thought, well, I've got all kinds of rubbish to talk about with you.
Yeah.
It's great to have your time to do this, and you're an important part of our history.
It's amazing.
Musically, I go back to a lot of the 60s psychedelic stuff and 49-minute Technicolor Dream and Caleb.
Yeah. And I'm still alive to tell the tale, right?
You're still here talking about it, which is even more fantastic. So I better stop waffling, but I could talk to you for hours.
That is wonderful. Well, just for your information, so the first album, even before we got the endorsement in 72, I was always using, Rotosound strings for quite a long time. I think, since around, since like 1967, something like that. It was Pete Townsend turned me on to Rotosound strings, actually.
Was that like personally, or was he just kind of, because it was the Who using them?
I think it was because the Who were using them, and I knew Pete and we were fans of them and everything.
Yeah.
And when I heard, I thought, Rotosound, is that what he's using?
Can I ask you a question about Coombe Gallows?
Sure. That's all Rotosound strings on there.
Well, I mean, that is, fantastic song.
Thank you.
That should have been a massive hit, obviously. Were you down that way? Was that where you were living? Were you down Stonehenge or?
At the time, Andover in Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah. And Coombe Gallows is actually a real place. and it's a place we out in the country. We used to go and hang out.
What inspired you to write that? Were you just kind of like because it's magical. It's just magical.
Yeah, it's a place. It's a funny place actually because it's a very peaceful place.
It's a pilgrimage place, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's a place where back in, I don't know, the 1600s or something, they used to hang people, gallows. I mean, witches and all that, they used to hang people, But for us, it was just a very cool place to get away from the city and everything and just go, smoke a joint and relax. And there was this beautiful view of Salisbury Plain, I'm just kind of like reflecting on what we were experiencing there.
It's an amazing snippet of the English countryside.
Yeah.
Perfectly written. Your Route 66 and whatever songs from America. I love these British songs. And that was just so magical for me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway.
That was one of my favorite Hookfoot albums. That first one was
Communication is great.
Communication, yeah. They were slightly different time periods, yeah.
But no, I'm, big fan of your work.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm glad you're well. And Jack's probably going to do all the business stuff.
Wow.
Thanks for sending me those strings. Because here's the funny thing. I mean, I'll be real honest with you. For years, I've been lived over here for 50 years, and so for a long time, I've used Diodario strings.
Yeah.
They've served me great. When you sent me those strings, and especially the British Steels, I think they're called, the grey package, I put them on. I play a Fender Strat today, and I put them on, and I went, "Oh my God, they sound great! And not only do they sound great, they feel great."
That is what you would have used that
back
material back in the day. That is
unbelievable.
Because the stainless steel wire now is something a lot of guitar players don't like. It's become, it's kind of a harsher feel on the fingers.
Yeah. There's a nickel plate or whatever.
Nickel plate steel is more popular, but the stainless steel and the British steels, I said to Jack, well, that's what you would have played back in the day,
If it really took me back, I thought this is just amazing, and the tone lasts longer. It's beautiful. I'm having a great time with them. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, so anyone who's watching, what happened was that we've got this photo, which is the Ronnie Scott's Hookfoot photo, and it's been in the office here. And I don't think it's anything that we've posted online in a long time. And on Instagram, it comes up saying you've been tagged in this picture. So I was checking it one day, and that picture came up, and I thought, oh, who's put that? Who else has got this same picture or would have posted it or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it came up Caleb Quaye, and I thought, oh, that must be one of those fake accounts that someone else has put up. Been posting this, and I went on, and no, it is you, and it's all this amazing history that you've been posting on your Instagram account. So I sent you a private message, and
okay,
and we went from there. And I thought, if you haven't been using the strings in a while, it'd be really great to send them to you, and then you can give us some feedback on.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's absolutely classic. Tell us a bit about that day. Was it like you was told, "Oh, go to Ronnie Scott. She got a Rotosound thing." What was the deal? How did that work? Do you remember?
I think actually, if my memory serves me well, we were booked to play at Ronnie Scott's, and so both things just kind of came together at that. Yeah.
And my dad must have been at the gig.
It's quite possible. Yeah. I honestly don't remember, but it's quite possible. Yeah.
I mean, my dad was not he was not a rock and roll guy.
Right.
Yeah, he was a Stefan Grappelli, Django Reinhardt guy. So I'm saying to Jack early on, I'm saying, he's probably there watching Stefan Grappelli. And I'm like, but he found himself in this situation where he was making his product with all these cool young bands. thought was great. With John to the Who and then we saw, you guys, and it's just, to me, that photo of you and my dad, where you're almost bloody holding hands, there must, and it's like you can see in that picture that you were probably the only one really paying attention to what was going on.
Oh yeah, well, maybe so. I mean, I remember I was thrilled that we got an endorsement deal, and especially as, excuse me, because we were very busy at that time. So not only touring, but also studio work. So I was doing a lot of playing and going through a lot of strings at that time, And then we were getting 72 is when we started to tour America as well. So there were long tours, 6-month tours, So we needed a lot of strings. And so I remember, Rotosound, you guys, the company, just before our American tour, they loaded us up with, cases of strings. I'm going, we never had so many strings in our life. It's great,
It was a strange time, I think, but it was a pioneering time for the industry because you had all these guys, Tom Jennings with Oates and Jim Marshall, my dad with Rotosound. They were all coming out with these new products. But all you guys were saying, this is cool.
Yeah.
I want. So there was this kind of discord. But, my dad always said to me, I remember once I was learning some Who songs when I first started playing. He goes, what's all this rubbish about some deaf, dumb and blind kid? Said, Dad, this is really cool.
Oh, boy.
So you did that single, that great single, Baby Your Phrasing Is Bad.
Oh, yeah.
67, was it?
67, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what happened after that to make you go from being Caleb to Hookfoot? Or why didn't you pursue
like a solo
thing as Caleb?
I was during that. So 67, I was still actually working at Dick James's studio.
Yeah,
I was signed to them as an artist, but I was, involved in a lot of studio work, and various bands were coming, and I just always wanted to be part of a band and write my own material, for a band. The solo artist thing didn't really. I wasn't really looking at that. It was funny. Dick was trying to. His whole thing was. Commercial, that was the buzzword. It's got to be commercial. It's got to be like Tom Jones or Engelbert Humperdinck. And Dick was old school.
Well, Baby Your Phrasing Is Bad is not necessarily commercial, but it's a great psychedelic song with a load of fuzz.
Yeah. So at the time I recorded that, I just Hendrix had just come to town. 66. I was good friends with Mitch Mitchell.
Yeah,
I was actually with Mitch on the day he auditioned for Hendrix.
Right,
brilliant.
So I was in the midst of all of this whole thing that was just starting to blow up big in London. So Hendrix was a big influence. So if you listen to the guitar solo on "Baby Your Phrasing Is Bad," that's me trying to do Hendrix.
Right. Yeah.
All that. And then the kind of phasing effect on it is we just copped that from the Beatles.
Did you phase the whole tracks? Right,
the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Because it's like it's so psychedelic. And when I was about 18, my friend and I were writing songs and doing stuff, and we were listening to Syd Barrett. This is like early 80s,
Right, yeah.
And I remember my mate Jim come in and he said, I've got this really great album, 49-minute Technicolor Dream. You got to check it out. Okay. And of course, it was on that album, and it was just like this wash of phrasing.
Yeah, it was the sound of the times,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So did Caleb do any other singles?
There was one more done after that. Was called, I think it was called "A Woman of Distinction."
That's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yes,
it didn't have the phasing on it, but it was the same lineup.
Yeah.
musicians, you know.
So who was any of the Hookfoot guys playing on that, or was that a different band altogether?
No, that was different. That was the bass player was Dee Murray.
Oh,
who went on to be Elton's bass player.
Yeah.
And the drummer was a guy who's unfortunately no longer with us. His name was Dave Hines. And him and Dee actually at that time were playing in a band called The Mirage.
Okay, I know they're one of the psychedelic guys.
Yeah. They were signed to Dick James as well. So we used to do a lot of session work at Dick James together, you know. So when I came to do my project, I just grabbed those two guys because we worked well together, and that's how that happened, you know. Mm-hmm. But Hookfoot came about because I met Roger Pope, the drummer.
Yeah.
And we hit it off because we both came from the same similar musical background. His father and my father were both jazz musicians.
Yeah.
And Roger was an amazing drummer. And back in those days, I first met him actually on the set of that old TV show, Ready, Steady, Go.
Yeah.
On Friday night, you know.
Yeah.
And Roger used to play with a band called the Soul Agents.
Okay.
And they backed Rod Stewart back in those days. And they were a great organ-based band, you know, doing a lot of jazz and blues. On Ready, Steady, Go, the Soul Agents were backing Buddy Guy, the blues player. So I went down there and saw them. I didn't know they were going to be on. I was down there seeing Georgie Fame. And all of a sudden, Buddy Guy comes on with his band, The Soul. I go, oh, man, this is great, you know. And Roger, what intrigued me about Roger, this is 1966, was he was the only drummer I'd ever seen in London that could play the Art Blakey shuffle. Mm. Now I don't know if that means anything to you or not, but that's something I grew up on because my dad was good friends with Art Blakey, and we were just listening to all this stuff when I was a kid, you know. And he had a certain way of playing a shuffle, you know. So Roger was one of the few English drummers at the time that really understood this whole thing that we call pocket, making it swing a pocket, you know. Everybody was very splashy and, you know, just a whole different thing, you know. And so I went up and spoke to him, you know, and I said, hey, man, you sound great. I said, that sounds like you've been listening to Art Blakey. He said, yeah, my dad did it, you know. So we're talking away. So we hit it off as friends. And then he came up with the Soul Agents to Dick James Studios, and we started doing session work together. And we decided it was actually Roger's idea to form a band. And I thought, you know, I'd love to be in a band with this guy. And so that's how it started. Yeah, the company, Dick James, they didn't understand what we were doing. And so they just didn't get behind it, you know. It wasn't commercial enough for Dick.
So what was the segue into Tumbleweed Connection?
Well,
how did that all go?
So Elton and myself, you know, Elton and Hookfoot were both signed to Dick James. We were like stablemates, you know.
Yeah.
I was, in fact, Elton's first producer. I got him and Bernie Taupin signed to Dick James Music, got them their first, you know, recording and publishing contracts. And
you kind of you sneaked Elton into the studio, didn't you?
Yeah. You know, so Elton was there. I was working on his project. Hookfoot. We formed Hookfoot. We were signed to Dick James, so I'm working with them. And Elton actually used to come to, in the early days, so this would be, we're talking now 68, 69. He would come down to Andover where we were rehearsing to work out his songs. And then we would do so we were his backing band right at the very beginning. So we would there's some live BBC recordings. We would do some BBC shows, and they're out there online now. So this will be around the period leading up to the Empty Sky album, which is Elton's first album.
Yeah.
So we were friends, you know.
I mean, there's very much a Hookfoot sound. Tumbleweed Connection, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the first album, you know, with your song and everything.
Elton John. Was that Elton John?
Yeah, Elton John.
Yeah.
With the black cover, you know.
Yeah.
That was more classically influenced, you know, more ballady, which is great, you know. But then then during that period, we were all listening to a lot of American music, like groups like The Band.
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills and Nash, and a lot of, and Elton and I, we'd always been listening to Motown, R&B, soul music, and all this stuff, So he very much into a groove. So he wanted this next album to be more funky,
Yeah.
So he brought us in, because that's what we were doing. We were all listening to that same kind of a thing all together, So that's really my answer. That's how it happened,
That's obviously a good segue into talking about the documentary and where it's at the moment, because you gave me a link to it on YouTube and I watched it last week. It's brilliant, absolutely fascinating. So many connections, well, Tumbleweed connection, sorry, pun, but there's so many connections between you and recordings that that I've known throughout my whole life, like Wild Thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you played on that.
Yeah. Used to play on all their
Elton
records.
John, Hall and Oates. I remember growing up listening to that as well. So all of that's amazing. And where can people watch it?
It's still on YouTube, but now it's gone Plex, Freevee. I think Hulu's getting it. I believe Amazon is getting it. So today it starts to fan out all over the place. We've had terrific responses. To it.
And it won best documentary, didn't it?
San Diego Film Festival. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really fascinating film. And are you back out playing much now?
Not that much. This last 3 years, I've had some health issues. I had spinal surgery last year. So I've just recovered from that. So I'm able to walk okay now without a stick and stuff like that,
Okay.
Right now, I'm in the process of getting the soundtrack to the documentary released on iTunes and, Spotify and all that kind of stuff, There's some interesting music that I wrote that's in the background, but it actually makes a nice compilation of music, and so a bunch of nice guitar stuff I think that's on there.
Yeah.
So working on that and just writing some original stuff. So I was playing. I have a jazz group kind of on standby. 4 of us. It's a really interesting group. It's the group that you saw in the documentary.
Yeah.
And so we're looking to get that back out there as well. So that's where it's at. So it's like I'm technically semi-retired, but not done yet.
Any plans to release any more late 60s overphased psychedelia? get your pen out.
Right. You know what? I might think about that. Yeah. You never know.
I'd love to hear it. I mean, you need to do. I'm only sad about me, but yeah, it'd be great to hear more from that era.
Got you.
Maybe we can get a Rotosound phaser pedal out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you come to the UK much at all now? Or
I haven't been there in quite a while, but there's some folks over there right now that are working on getting me over there to do some personal appearances. Obviously to help promote the documentary and stuff. So, I'm hoping maybe within the next year or so there may be a trip over there. If that happens, I will be sure to come see you guys. Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
love to show you how the strings are made, and we've got a lot of machinery that Jason's dad built and machines that Jason's built now.
That's great.
The machines that make the strings, and it's all quite fascinating.
You're a fascinating part of our history. And obviously a great songwriter, guitar player, and it's an absolute pleasure to spend half an hour talking all this crap. Well,
I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled this has come about, and I still remember that day on front of Ronnie Scott's. We were just thrilled.
I bet my dad thought, "What the fuck am I doing here with these guys?"
He did look different, that's for sure.
He's in his suit and tie, and
Got the one out.
Anyway, yeah. We're going to let you get back to your breakfast.
Okay, yeah, it's early, but that's good. No, this is wonderful. This is great.
Thank you very much, Caleb. Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bless you guys.
Okay.
Speak soon, hopefully.
You bet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.